Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.Eliances.com. Now, back to our super host, David Cogan, founder of Eliances.
I'm just loving life. I mean, we had the founder of the first equity crowdfunding portal in Arizona, Nick Andrews, with Fund My Business AZ. Later on in the show, we have a 4-time award-winning producer. I'm going to hold off on his name. You're going to have to listen to the show. Just so many amazing things going on. But I love our next hero's story. It's the kind that motivates you to know that startups from scratch can be super successful. He is the founder of Siggi's Dairy. That's SIGGISDAIRY.com. Siggi Hilmarsson. Siggi, how surreal is it when you see your yogurt in stores, when you go shopping like to Safeway, AJ's, Fry, Whole Foods, even some Starbucks? Like, what's going through your mind when you see not only your product, but your name on your product, right, on the shelves?
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy because I started making yogurt in my kitchen about 10 years ago, so it's kind of crazy to see it go that far.
I mean, do you just get overly excited when I mean, your yogurt, first of all, is absolutely amazing, and my family loves it and stuff. I mean, how do you actually get on these shelves with so many competitors that are out there and the big boys that are just saying, there's no room for anybody else?
Well, I started making yogurt because I felt like a lot of American yogurt was way too sweet. So I started making this yogurt with not a lot of sugar. And first, when people tried it, they were sort of like, Siggi, what is this? But recently, sort of over the past, especially 3 or 4 years, Americans have started to focus a lot on the sugar that is in their diet, in particular in snacks like yogurt and condiments and stuff. So that has been a huge boon to us. So people are increasingly saying we have to increase the space for a yogurt that has less sugar. And that's been a boon to us, and that's how we've sort of carved out this space for us in this very competitive market.
Now, Siggi, you were raised in one of the coldest places to be, Iceland. I mean, we're talking in July. The hottest month is, 52 degrees around there, with the most daily sunshine being 6 hours? I mean,
well, in the summer it goes up to 60, but yeah, it's pretty cold.
Well, we're in Arizona where it's 110 degrees in the summer. I mean, with it being so cold where you were, what got you inspired to go into the yogurt field, though?
Well, I moved to America to go to grad school when I was about 25, and I really, really missed this yogurt. It was the staple of my diet growing up, and I loved it. So when I moved here, I really, really missed this type of Icelandic yogurt that I make. And I had a day job that I didn't like, and I had started making the yogurt as a hobby. So I figured, I don't have a job that I like. I love this product. Let me just check it out. So I quit my job and started making yogurt full time.
Now, with all the different yogurts that you have, what is your favorite? I mean, well, two things. What's your favorite, and then what sells the most?
That's a great question and a difficult one. It's kind of like picking between your children, right? When I eat it personally myself, I usually just eat it plain with a little bit of fruit and nuts. But the best seller by far is vanilla, and that sells really well. And that's the one you can find, for example, in Starbucks.
Now, listen, you talk about growing your company as much as you can without giving up on core beliefs or values. What are those core beliefs and values that you mention?
Well, I think they're first and foremost two. Number one is that we want to make yogurt that is very low in sugar. So we put anywhere between 25 to 50% less sugar in our yogurt than in any of the competitors' yogurts. So that's number one. Number two is we don't put any artificial stuff in it, and we don't put any kind of flavorings, no artificial sweeteners, nothing really that makes the flavor profile feel fake. So our ingredients are very, very simple. So that's kind of the second hallmark. So, for example, in our blueberry yogurt, the flavor is the yogurt with a little bit of blueberries and a little bit of cane sugar, nothing else.
Wow, that's amazing. And we have Ziggy here. I mean, ziggy'sdairy.com, the actual real founder. And you're listening to Eliances Hero. Now, be a hero. Go to where entrepreneurs align. Be part of our community. That's Eliances.com, Eliances.com. You hear it over and over. This is the place where entrepreneurs align. Now, Ziggy, your mother played a part in your business by sending you the secret recipe of which you used to start formulating your yogurt into your company, Siggi. What would be written down on a note from you in the future that you would give to your children if you have any, or someone else's child who you want to succeed?
I would just say stay calm, be focused, and be determined. I think that's kind of the lesson that I learned. And if you prepare for the growth, you will make it work. There's nothing worse than not being prepared for the business that you are sort of trying to build. So I think that's kind of where I would leave it.
But I love the aspect. You are the true story. You created this in your kitchen. Then you went to go selling at farmers markets. What was the break to be able to then go from farmers market into the stores? Because that is the most difficult thing to do.
Well, originally I just walked around New York. I started selling at a farmer's market in Manhattan, and while doing that, I just took the cups and walked to some of the smaller stores that was easier to knock on the door. And then later, I got kind of lucky, actually, when Whole Foods had discovered the product, and they called me and said, hey, we heard about this product. We heard about the Icelandic background origin. We heard about the low sugar. We heard about the simple ingredient list, and we would really love to have that in our stores. So I went and presented to them in Austin, and at that time, I was only in about 15 stores and selling at the farmer's market, so that was pretty neat.
So then you went from there. So in Whole Foods, then how many stores were you in after they said yes?
Well, that was the biggest jump for us because we went from 15 stores to about, I think, 200, 250 in one go, and that was kind of crazy. That was like probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
All right, so before you were going in to present in front of the Whole Foods executives, I imagine it had to be nervous because it would be nervous for anybody. This is your big time. This is the break. This is where it's a do or die in that. Who did you turn to prior to that, bouncing ideas off of, formulating your presentation? Who do you look to?
Well, I had gotten lucky. I had gotten introduced to a couple of people in the food industry very briefly prior, actually, and they gave me some solid advice, and they were kind of veterans in the industry. But in terms of the stress level, the oddest thing is I was much more stressed later in the business because at that point I didn't really understand the business that well because I was so new to it, and I really didn't understand how a big opportunity this was. So I think that was kind of almost like, foolish, because I didn't really know so much. So if I had really known how big a break this was, I probably would have been a lot more stressed.
So it's actually part of the advice is good. It's good not knowing how big something could be, as you're going into.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Yes.
Who's your closest business advisor? Is there somebody who you confide in with business?
Yeah. So my original partner actually was my professor. So I had when I was in Columbia Business School, I was a TA for a professor that later was my first investor, and he's still on my board, and he's a very close advisor. And then I have a great lawyer who has been instrumental in helping me out.
So it's really about building a team and being part of it. I mean, this is just
absolutely.
It's incredible. It's incredible what you've done, and what you continue to do. So I got to ask you, who does the taste testing at your company for developing and looking at new products and rolling them out?
Well, we are a great team here in the office, and we have a great team in the product development. But it's really sort of a group effort. We throw around ideas, and then they come up with what they think is executable of that. They send a sample, and we all sample it together. So in the beginning, it was just me, but now it's the broader team, and they do great.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever need any taste testers in Arizona, we've got hundreds and hundreds, over 1,000 now, people that are just part of Eliances that would love to be the taste testers. I got to tell you, a hero is one that stays true to its core beliefs and values. One that can create a recipe, start selling in a farmer's market, and break out into the big grocery stores. That's a true leader. That's one that's employing people, building the community. That's Siggi Hilmarsson. You can go to ziggisdairy.com. Again, that's SIGGISDARY.com. David Cogan with Eliances.